Hey friends, how you doing? I have to talk about this damn book, Get Fury. It's the return to Frank Castle in the Marvel Universe, but this is not a continuation of the last controversial Frank Castle arc. This is a brand new story set in a different time during the Vietnam War. There will be a couple of spoilers, but I'm going to try to keep it mostly spoiler free. But I want to give you something to help you decide if it's something you want to read. And you know that if I'm talking about it, I like it because I don't discuss the negative on my channel. So let's get into it. It drops you off in Vietnam, and you're introduced to Frank Castle and his fellow operators who are part of a special forces unit. There's obvious tension between them and the regular rank and file soldiers. But Frank is just aloof and unaffected, and almost daring them to do something. A very, very he's kind of a dickhead, but in a likable way. And then you cut to Nick Fury, who was in a whole nother part of Vietnam in a whole nother situation. Him and his fellow soldiers are captured. Actually, they're not soldiers. I believe he's working for the CIA. But you have these two entities working in Vietnam off book, so they're asked to do some pretty shady stuff. And yeah, and a lot of violence ensues, not between the protagonists. To be quite honest with you, I don't know if you can say one is the protagonist or antagonist at this time. It was a big book. Don't get me wrong; they give you a lot of information, but how can I explain? It's a lot of pages, but you don't. But it doesn't feel too big. It reads fast, and there's so much of the story that all these pages were just really the introduction to the story, and you already get some just brutal scenes of violence. It's written by Garth Ennis, who you may know from The Boys. I know him from Jennifer Blood, one of my favorite comic book series. And I thought to myself, Garth Ennis, Marvel, how is that going to work? But you have the Marvel label and you have the Max Comics label. I'm not too hip on the ins and outs of the comic business. I'm still a newbie. I'm like a 6 year deep nerd. I don't know. But I'm assuming this Max may be a title to let them you know, create more adult content away from the mainline Marvel label to keep that clean. And boy, do you need it. I mean, this is not something you want to have your kids reading. But it is a great introduction to both characters, both situations, and you can see it. I see it as maybe something working toward an eventual team up. Um, it may play out a whole different way. I don't know, but that's the beauty of comic books. We get to discover it a month at a time, page by page. And I cannot suggest this enough. The art is brutal, um, pretty photorealistic art style that you would come to expect with Garth Ennis. And, I want to show you more pages, but there's just some stuff that you have to see for yourself. But if you are a fan of Garth Ennis, if you are a fan of the Punisher, the actual Punisher, if you are a fan of more adult, violent type comics, war stories, I cannot suggest this enough. This is just number one. It should be available. I'm going to post this a little bit earlier than I usually do to make sure you can get your copy from your local comic book store. And as always, if you don't have a local comic book store, I suggest seeing my friends at Coffee and a Comic. If you're local to the Huntington Beach area, you can walk in. And if you are not, They have a very easy to use website, www.coffeeandacomic.com. They have great prices and great deals if you're a regular shopper on shipping. Give Jeff a call. He can explain those more in depth, and great customer service. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Keep reading them books and get this damn book. Thank you, Marvel, for doing right by Frank Castle. Let's see if we can get him back in the main run.